name is Heather McGee, and this is the Happily Never After, a podcast that explores how life's endings can lead to a personal breakthrough. Because sometimes the end is just the beginning. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Happily Never After, a podcast where we explore how life's endings can lead to a new beginning. You are listening to The Messy Middle. This is a series of mini bonus episodes I'm posting while we're in between seasons. I just talk about whatever I feel like talking about. I schedule them for whenever I feel like scheduling them, and the subjects can range really widely. It may be tangentially, that's a hard word to say, related to life's endings, but it may just be about, that cool movie I saw the other day. We'll see how this goes. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate, review, and follow us wherever you are listening or watching the show today. That actually is very important, and it is a free way to help the show. All right, let's get to it. Today, we're going to talk about how to be a friend when your friend is going through a divorce. This is actually something that a lot of people going through a divorce for the first time don't realize. They don't think about it. Divorce doesn't just change your romantic situation or your direct family situation. It changes everything. It changes how you live. It changes how you budget. It changes your entire mental health. It changes your friendship. It truly changes everything. So today we're going to focus on friendships, which is something most people do not realize is going to happen, most likely. All right. So something that I think is also challenging is for your friends that are seeing you go through a divorce. And so if you're going through a divorce and you are perhaps having a hard time with some of your friendships and you want to share this with them, go ahead and do that. Try not to be passive aggressive. But it is a little bit of a special situation that unless you've been through a divorce, you don't know how to act. You don't know what to do. And, maybe through this, we can help more friendships survive the divorce process because we need each other. So let's figure it out. First, I will say, and I'm allowed to say this because I'm divorced, people who are getting a divorce are annoying. They're very annoying. They are a mess. They are emotional. I heard a joke once that women who are going through a divorce are like Chernobyl. They're in a radioactive state. So treat them gingerly for just a few years and then you can come back around. It's just a joke, but I'm not going to say it's totally wrong. It's pretty common, as I mentioned before, for divorced gals to lose friends through this process because they are in such a wild state. That can be hard to deal with for your friends. I have sympathy for my friends that had to watch me be wild for a few years before I figured myself out. And I think watching your friend have a hard time, it can be really painful, but it is. It's really normal for this stuff to happen. Divorce changes everything. It's just see if you can write it out and get to the other side of it. All right, I'll share a little bit about my own story. When I first left my marriage, I was in a terrible state. I was desperate. I was starved for love, starved for peace. I didn't feel safe. And that really impacts the way you act in the world. It makes you wild. It makes you bananas. And that's just a state of it. I think a lot of times married friends, when they see you leave your marriage, they expect you to be like, oh, crying a little bit, but mostly they're their friend that they know. No, you go wild, you go feral, you do a lot of things that are probably ill-advised. You're incredibly emotional, crying all the time. You're just wild, easily rattled, easily annoyed, easily angry. And it's really tough to deal with. They're like a wounded animal in a corner. And I was certainly that kind of person. And for me, it was the middle of the pandemic before a vaccine. So, I just felt like, let's blow everything up. That was my plan, I guess. I was in full blown meltdown in all ways. It was really, really tough for me. And I think it was really tough for my friends too. And I mean, I will say I lost, I think maybe one friend. I'm really lucky that most of my friends hung on, but I did lose one friend that I'd been friends with for 20 years. She didn't get it. And this was like 2 months after I'd left my marriage. So I was really in the trenches. She was like, I don't know who you are. You're talking about going back to school. You're talking about doing this. And, I don't know what you're doing. Why are you dating? You should just stay at home. And I remember on the inside, I was like, wow, you really do not get this at all. What makes you think you do get it? So there's like a lot of, there's just a lot to it. And the thing is, nobody's wrong. You get to end a friendship whenever you want to on both sides. Friendships come and go. It is normal. So I think this is really for people that want to hang on to that friendship. They want to see it through. If you're not so committed, then it's probably just over. But if you are committed to your friendship, then these are some things that I hope help you understand what's going on with your divorcing friend a little bit better. All right. The big thing that everyone involved needs to understand is that it is possible that your friendship may end. If your friend is in the dumpster fire part, the part that I was in right after I left my marriage, you may think to yourself, who is this person? or they are way too needy and emotional, or, and this is pretty universal, why are they being so stupid? Valid. This is a normal reaction, especially if you've never been through a divorce and you don't know what to expect. And these are all valid. Like, why is my friend suddenly acting like a wild animal in the forest? I get it. How would you know that that's what's going to happen? They don't even know that's what's going to happen. Everyone's bananas. It is also likely that the divorce experience, and this is something that I wish more people understood personally, the divorce experience is actually revealing who that person really is. You may not realize the depths to which their marriage was not working. It may have been sexless, loveless. There may have been abuse. They may have been called many names throughout the course of their marriage. They might have experienced domestic violence, and you might not know about that. And something that we need to be more realistic about is when you choose to leave, when you take that step to healing, it is brutal. You are walking through a battlefield to fix yourself, to fix your life. And so I think it's unrealistic to think they're not going to be a little wild. They're not going to be a little bit bananas. They're not going to be a little bit, crying all the time. That is normal. So everyone needs to expect that. Now, on the beautiful side of that, once they get through that minefield, they hopefully will have calmed down and there will be a new, better, evolved version of themselves that is strong, that has come out on the other side with a lot of lessons, that is sure of themselves, that is secure. And that new person, hopefully, is pretty great. So if you can get through the minefield part, it's worth hanging on if you're committed to your friendship. One big thing everyone needs to know is that healing is very messy. And going through the emotional dumpster fire phase, and this is when most people lose their friendships, is 100% normal, especially if you're coming out of abuse, a lack of love and affection, or just a plain old really bad marriage, which plenty of people have those and they don't leave. So the ones that do leave are actually doing better here. The dumpster fire, and this was something I learned, the dumpster fire is actually not your friend falling apart, is a developmental stage in their healing. It gets worse before it gets better. This is actually a normal, good developmental step. You may think your friend has gone wild and who is this person and why are they doing so many wild things? That is part of them becoming who they're going to be. It's part of them working through the mess. It's a developmental stage. You don't just go from, I have a really bad marriage, I'm going to blow up my life, to all peace, happiness, and butterflies. Like, that's not going to happen. And anyone who thinks it's going to happen is very unrealistic. This is a good thing, even though it might be uncomfortable for you to witness. We all need to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable, I think. If you can hang on, you will likely eventually get to know a way better version of your friend. You just have to let them work through their stuff if you can do that for them, if that's something that you can give to them as a gift. If you think about it, expecting someone who is ripping their life apart to put it back together in a better way is unrealistic to think they aren't going to be kind of a wreck for a little while. Here's a few reframes to think of. I'm going to give you hard examples. Dating. A lot of times dating is a distraction activity when you're going through a divorce. And it's actually important for them to be able to do that because they need to have some kind of fun. They need to have some kind of outlet. And probably they're pretty starved for affection. So when your friend is going on date number 10 within 1 week, just smile and nod, reserve your judgment. Because I'm just gonna say gently to you, you don't know what you're talking about. You may be like, why are you doing this? This is so wild. Why would you do that? You're 45 years old or whatever. Don't say that. Don't even think that because you really don't understand what's going on here. Your job as a friend is to nod, be supportive, and ask them to share their location with you while they're on that date so you can call the cops if you need to. I'm making a joke, but I actually do that. Another reframe I'll give you. If they've left an abusive marriage, which you may or may not know about, you may not understand why they're still in turmoil. It's like, you left. You should be good now. Healing from abuse takes years, years. It cannot be rushed, and the damage from that is real. And so, again, try not to be judgmental and just be a little self aware that you don't understand what they're going through, really. And your job is to be supportive. That takes me to my second point. So a lot of people want to help when they see their friend struggling. It is really hard to stand there and watch someone seem to be like in this tornado of terrible. It's really hard to watch that. And I get that. But again, I think the theme for all of this is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's going to challenge you to see how non-judgmental can you be. Just see how well you can do on that front. The best thing you could do, and this is really your role if you can accept it, is to be a sounding board for all the wild things that they're going to say. And they are going to say some things that are bonkers. The big mistake I see married friends make is they try to give the divorcing friend advice. And that's just not really a good idea. Really don't do that for a couple of reasons. The reality is you may think you have good advice for them, but you really truly don't, unless you've already been through a divorce. Then you can give advice if they ask for it. I would say ask for it. Do you want advice? That's a good way to do it. Do you want advice, or do you want to just talk it out and I can listen to you and help you process? Ask them what they want and then do that. It's likely they won't want advice from you, because what you're going to get in return is something like, you don't understand, or just trust me, because it's too much to try to explain to you what getting divorced is like. You're never going to get it. So they don't want to have that conversation. And they have professionals to give them advice. That's not your job. So really sit there and be supportive. Be a sounding board. Listen to them. Hold their hand. Take them out for nachos. That's your role. Don't go to the side of giving advice, because you're probably wrong, actually. Just listen. It's really the kindest, most compassionate thing you can give as a friend. And it's often what they need the most, actually, because they've got professionals that are helping them. They've got all that. They just need you to be their friend and to care about them. That's what they need. As a personal share, I will say I did have people who meant well in my life, and I appreciated they were trying to help me, but it was really annoying because they constantly took a parental position and tried to play devil's advocate all the time. Like, well, don't do that. It is so annoying, and it just shuts you down. Like, I didn't want to talk to them anymore because it's like, okay, got it. You're my parent now. It doesn't feel good. I mean, really, it's very condescending. I stopped sharing much with the people that did that because I never knew what they were going to say, and it was just going to be painful. Like if I were talking about an abuse situation, they'd be like, "Well, you should do this, this, and the other," and I'm like, "Get out of here! You don't know what you're talking about." And that's the worst advice to give someone coming out of an abusive situation. So be really careful about that. Don't play devil's advocate. Don't challenge them even. Just listen. Again, if you want to give them advice, ask first. And they may or may not want it. They really need you to just support them and hold their hand. I stopped sharing with the people that were doing that with me because I never knew what they were going to say. And it was probably going to include some version of what they think I was doing wrong. And trust me, anyone who's going through a divorce is already like being so hard on themselves. They think they're doing everything wrong. They do not need you to pile on. All right. So this is a special case. Going back to if your friend is coming out of an abusive situation, something that you could do is really pump them up as a person. Most people coming out of a marriage, whether abusive or not, their self-esteem is at an all-time low. Pump them up. Take them out. Now that we're out of the pandemic, and nobody could do this for me, but now that we're out of the pandemic, take them out for a drink, take them out for a coffee, visit them, proactively call them and reach out to them, because trust me, they are feeling a little weird about needing so much from other people too. It's just a fact of life. They can't control that part, but they may not reach out to you that they need help, or how they're feeling that day. And it really is beneficial to get attention from your friends and family who care about you and not just from dates, which honestly is where most of the attention comes from for divorcees because they're too embarrassed to talk to their friends about what's going on. So really try to address that if you can. That would be really helpful. Some things that are helpful with abuse. I think you have to be really careful. Don't just tell them that to ignore the ex or don't let it bother you. That's not realistic for people coming out of abuse, and especially if they're a co-parent. You just need to be real careful about that. And remember, unless you're a DV expert or advocate yourself, then you probably do have valuable things to say. But if not, and if you haven't been through it yourself, just tread carefully there. Your best strategy, and you'll probably be able to tell this is a theme, your best strategy is to just listen. Don't give advice. They're probably not going to listen to you anyway. $100 that if you're brave enough to give a divorcing woman advice, if you've never gotten divorced, they will respond with some form of, "Oh, you just don't get it," or "Just trust me," because they're too annoyed to explain it to you. Like that's what's going to happen. Be supportive and just see how non-judgmental you could be. Take it as a challenge. How non-judgmental can you be when your friend's telling them they're going on a million dates this week, or even on a double date during the day? Date one and then go get lunch, and then date number two. See how far you can be non-judgmental. Take it as a challenge. All right, now to wrap up, I'm going to give you just a little thing, and this is actually directed to all of y'all out there who are in the dumpster phase of divorcing yourself. This is not for the friends. This is for you. I have 3 big rules that I really want you to take into your heart and just build it in there. And since I am divorced, I get to say this. I get to give advice. And also you push play on this podcast, so this is what you want. Number 1, don't get married. Some people get married like a year or 2 after getting divorced, and I do not understand that. That is such a big mistake. Don't do anything you can't back out of easily. So don't get married, don't have a kid, and don't move in with anyone with whom you are in a romantic situation. Got that? Those are hard to get out of, and you don't do that. You cannot trust your own decision making within the first few years after getting divorced. So just no, don't do that. Aside from that, have fun. You deserve it. Be safe, and don't do anything you don't actually want to do. So just if you can just remember those few little guidelines, I think you're going to have a better time during this dumpster fire life. All right, to everyone, good luck. I hope you all can make it. I hope your friendships can get through this challenge of life. And really, that says a lot. If you can make it through a divorce situation as friends, that says a lot about your friendship and commitment to each other. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have a good week.